This is, if you're not aware, this is the first of several talks that I'll be giving on a document that I published, I don't know, like, what, 3 weeks ago now? The grey paper. It describes a protocol, the join accumulate machine, or JAM for short, which I am hoping we will transition the Polkadot protocol, specifically the Polkadot relay chain, into. The lectures are not, they're not, each one is not meant to be a complete lecture. Rather, it is a part in a lecture series, which basically means that today you're not, it's not going to feel especially complete. But when everything is tied together with the other, whatever, 8 or 9 lectures that I'll be doing over the next, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks, you should have a fairly complete picture of the protocol. I'll nonetheless make some effort to talk about the things that I'm not going to cover in depth towards the end of the time here, depending on how much time we actually end up with. As it's the first lecture, I don't know exactly how long or how much detail I'll be able to go into yet. Good. I think that's basically what I wanted to cover by way of introducing what this is. I'm going to go through the grey paper point by point, paragraph by paragraph, explaining what is meant, what the repercussions are if they're not stated obviously, and I'm reasonably happy to take questions throughout. If you have a sort of question about a particular section, then you know, put your hand up, or if you're happy to wait until the end, then you can wait until the end too. There will be a question and answer session at the end. In addition to the paper, I do have some slides. Here they are. I don't know how to make this full screen. We can just do it this way. And what I want to begin with is, well, you know what? I should probably begin with the abstract. Let's go back to the abstract. Okay. So, how big is this? Can you kind of? Is that too smart? Yeah, it's okay. All right, good. Okay. The grey paper is, you know, has my name on it. I wrote it. Obviously, it's not just my work. A lot of the ideas are mine, but it's taken many more people than me to refine those ideas into something that is workable. But you know, I wrote the words. Okay, the abstract. This is a formal specification. It's not a vision document per se, in the same way that the Polkadot paper was a vision document, didn't have very many details in. This is fully detailed, and from this document, it should be possible to implement this protocol in a way that, broadly speaking, is compatible with anyone else that tries to implement the protocol. So it should be an unambiguous specification. In that sense, it's quite similar to the yellow paper of Ethereum that, you know, I wrote 10 years ago. JAM is a little bit like a marriage of Polkadot and Ethereum. It takes some elements from both. In particular, it takes the sort of scaling machinery of Polkadot and marries it into more of a Ethereum-like paradigm, a little bit like, with things in it that are a little bit like smart contracts. The JAM protocol is centered around a certain dualism, and we're going to get into this in actually at the end of this lecture. But the name specifically is the in-core and on-chain dualism. Two different ways of doing consensus computation that's secure. We're familiar already with the on-chain, the idea of doing computation on-chain. You know, when Bitcoin processes transactions and works out which outputs are now spent and which ones are left unspent, that's on-chain computation. When Ethereum's smart contracts for Ethereum have to be processed, they're processed on-chain. We're not familiar with Incore. Incore computation is essentially somewhat similar to an optimistic rollup in the Ethereum world. It's essentially computation that is done off-chain, but whose correctness is guaranteed through game theoretic mechanisms that are rooted on-chain. JAM is permissionless. This is kind of in contrast to the original Polkadot relay chain, where it was necessary to win a slot auction. I mean, technically anyone could enter a slot auction, so technically Polkadot was also permissionless. But JAM is permissionless in the sense that the barriers to entry are much lower. So not only do you not need permission, but you also don't need very much support, financial or community-wise, in order to deploy code onto JAM. And the JAM protocol utilizes this underlying concept of core time, which is basically Polkadot's equivalent of block space, but with under a particular formalism. Specifically, it's whatever you can do in what we call a core of Polkadot over some particular period of time. Our time is quantized into particular blocks, and I'm going to go into that briefly soon as well. In essence, this core time is a metric of Web3 compute, or resilient, secure, ubiquitous compute power, and it's a little bit like Ethereum's EVM gas. And finally, JAM is designed to be compatible, or to host a service such that Polkadot parachains can be migrated onto that service operating on JAM without any major disruption. Okay, I hope that was reasonably clear as my interpretation of the abstract. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the naming. Because if we say Polkadot, we can mean many different things. Polkadot is a network, it's a technology stack, and it's an economy. It's also a community. And because we have this overloaded use of the one single term, it's not always so easy to know. Confusion can ensue, let's say. This is why this protocol is not called the new Polkadot protocol, but actually has its own name. It's not because it's something different to Polkadot or something that is fundamentally strategically competitive with Polkadot. Rather, it's because I just want to be clear about what it is that I'm describing. It was previously, the idea underlying JAM was previously suggested by me in an RFC several months ago, I think last autumn, called Core JAM. It's kind of shortened now to just JAM, but it's kind of the same idea, but reformalized and with a lot of extra stuff around it that makes it a coherent protocol rather than just an idea how to change the existing Polkadot protocol.